All of this spiritual talk. Oh my God. Welcome to Chosen Family.
Thank you for having me.
Oh,
We were really enjoying the live journaling next door.
Thank you. Well, we had to tie it up, but it's impossible to tie together.
On my way here this morning, I was like, what we do is kind of Super Soul Sunday, like Oprah's Sunday morning
it's
programming.
True. I never looked at it that way.
Kind of that way.
Yeah.
But talking about spiritual experience, Tufik, we have to talk about the Beyonce performance
At
at
Coachella.
Coachella.
You should start that way.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, you're a fan.
It's what everyone's talking about, right?
Well,
Are you a Beyonce fan?
That's the thing. I'm a Destiny's Child fan.
Yeah, that's it.
I know I'm gonna have a lot of people jumping on my jugular for this, but the thing is that I've seen Destiny's Child in Paris back in 1998 or 99 at Virgin Megastore in Paris. It was like a free show with like 200 people or something like this, and I've seen the whole thing. So I must say that I got a little bit when I saw all the three of them popping out from the scene.
But what
it
did
was
you
only
think of
two
the song
songs.
choice? 3 songs.
3 songs?
Yet they did a good choice. But
Lose My Breath, Say My Name, yes.
Lose My
Ending
Breath.
with Soldier, no. Personally. It just, I don't know, it needed to be something bigger, I felt.
Lose My Breath is really...
Because it's just started off so strong with Lose My Breath
and
and
why
to
do you
Say
make
My
the
Name.
distinction between Destiny's Child and Beyonce?
Because I think that when she did her album after Dangerously in Love, it was super cool. But then after she went to a certain direction, and I was not really feeling it. And there's something different when you have like a girls band versus one. Like you always prefer to have like 3 bad bitches instead of 1 bad bitch.
What do you think of all the hate that Michelle is getting for her?
It's what
hate was she getting?
From just being like
we all needed Michelle.
Yeah, we all
at the table.
True. Thank you, Tufik.
You're welcome.
So
I slapped someone in the elevator earlier.
So Jordan, please let me know how do you know Tufik, and then Tufik, how do you know Jordan, and what's your...
The official version or the non-official version?
The official version, I was on a refugee boat getting here from New Brunswick.
Right.
And Tufik found me in the Fleuve Saint Laurent and put me right on it.
I was on my couscous little
but
pod.
actually, this was in your gymnastique period.
Exactly.
I met
Gymnastique?
Gymnastique period. Actually, I met you a few blocks from here at Patty Schmidt's Halloween or New Year's party. And I was there with, I won't say a polo gay, but I was there with a boutonnet.
Can you define polo gay, please?
The gay boutonnet is the gay who feels like the polo shirt is the passepartout, if you will, much like we have the statement tee. There's also the boutonnet. So I was there with...
it's a basic gay.
I was there with the boutonnet.
Jordan is a
I
lovely...
think there's a difference between a boutonnet and a polo. There's a difference.
That is true. Let's talk about class conflict later.
So you met at that party. It's
and
the
then
early...
I saw
this is the first time we saw each other.
And then I saw this Beardance, which is not her real name, literally prancing around with a pink gymnastique ribbon experience.
And the Nadia Comaneci type of like
and Nadia Comaneci like black unitard, which she still has.
Yeah, it's a
and they still fit in it.
It's a recurrent look for you.
And then I realized that this was all part of a photo series. In fact, we were all just photoshopped extras in a piece of Tufik's called New Year's Party 2011 to 2012.
It's 2011 to 2012. I thought it was earlier.
It was earlier.
It was?
It was earlier. Well, I saw your face earlier than this. Maybe you forgot about me, but I did not forget about you.
You got to Montreal in 2003.
No, it was before Donovan left. So yeah, it was like 2007.
No, something like this. It was super old school.
So you got to Montreal in 2003 from Paris, Moroccan heritage.
Yeah.
And Jordan, when did you get to Montreal?
A long time ago.
Okay.
I came
No memory.
Look at this one trying to be on the low about his age.
It was 2000. It was the year 2000.
So,
it was a hopeful time.
Thank you. So the early 2000s in Montreal, queer life, before Facebook, before iPhones, before...
It was amazing.
It was different.
I'm sorry, it was amazing.
It was the
parking. It was the parking. It was
all
like
about parking.
dirty, raggedy, stinky, sweaty.
overdose.
It was good.
We've lost... Are we old or we lost that.
It was
No,
back
you
when-
lost it, honey. Your generation lost a lot of stuff.
It was back when overdose was just a party name and not an actual opioid crisis.
Right.
It was a time where you could really survive on very little sleep.
So this party
and
was
very little
every
money.
Thursday night. It was incredible. Frigid
hard
started
to
it,
find,
and then they moved to Unity, and then Mini took over.
Yeah.
And these years were incredible.
But you had overdose on the main floor, and you
And
had
then hip-hop
Faggy
floor.
Baggy
Yeah.
on the basement. And I love how you gagged when you just said Faggy Baggy. That was the name of the party.
I was there. I remember. I
This
was
is back
there.
before people were embarrassed to say I went to Village. You ever meet those like north of tracks gays who are like, oh my god, I went to Stud.
totally.
I went to
Oh my
Stud
God,
last night. I went to Stud last night. I felt
Yeah,
very-
because gay life has changed so much. Like now, the Village is kind of uncool. It's not the way it used to be.
it's a
Well,
wasteland.
the village looks like it's a
Homs. It looks a little bit like Aleppo.
like it's a forgotten museum. You know what I mean? It's becoming derelict. It's just like the Castro or like Christopher Street.
Right.
If you get there, you just look at it and you're like, whoa, this is a whole generation that
We
stayed.
need commercial storefront rent control, Montreal.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Seriously, unused spaces. Everyone should look up L'Entremise. Two Feeks from Jonathan La Palma's this great nonprofit that is trying to get underused commercial and architecturally significant spaces brought
Indeed.
back into
Great
use
job.
for like non-commercial use, artist use, and commercial use. The real reason the Village is dying, I think, is not just Grindr. I really think that it is the inflationary and exploitive approach that the owners of that real estate have. They thought they could make a mint off of us,
Yeah.
and then we're like, no,
Yeah.
people aren't doing it.
I love how we switch from diary, like, oh my god, I'm crying because I haven't
one
been
brought up
loved,
class
to like
warfare
the
with the
whole
polo
thing about
shirts.
like.
I was bringing up
I love
class
it.
warfare.
I thought that's what
Anyone
he was-
can get a polo for $4 at Ava B. Okay,
What is it representing?
So
that's what I was talking about. But
So-
I don't think it's
I feel
class.
okay, Jordan. I feel
I
the
think it's
world
attitude.
The world is finally catching on to Jordan Arsenault in a lot of ways. You're like, really? Where? You were part of two amazing panels in New York. One at the MoMA, one about André Brassard's movie Il était une fois dans l'Est.
Yeah.
Where? It looked so amazing from the outside. What was that experience like?
That is something that I've learned from Instagram. You know, I only joined Instagram last July, and I understood like all along I've been doing this wrong. I've been trying to cultivate myself, my skills, my friendships, these interpersonal connections. And then I realized, I know, right? And then I realized looking at 2 Feet that it really is about the Instagram story.
Yeah.
You know, but actually, by delightful coincidence, Earl Dax, Booker, who formerly Brooklyn-based, got me on this show at Joe's Pub in October called Weimar, New York.
Yeah.
I got to meet these great artists, and there was a longtime activist friend of a friend who came, and this is the story of, like, why do you upend your schedule to when someone says, come do a gig in New York? It's because there's somebody eating, like, apple pie a la mode at the back who's then like, oh, I think you'd be good for this panel. So Sir Rodney Sir got me on this panel about... It was about the nightlife scene that Klaus Nomi and Keith Haring really instigated in a church basement called Club 57. And in the same period,
Just
was
to clarify,
this
you
film.
weren't there.
He was.
I was
Stop
a
lying.
glimmer. I was a glimmer in my like unknown father's one night stand
Right.
that he had with my mom, and so many things had not occurred.
Right.
And so I reached back to this period a lot for my work,
Yeah.
namely with the film Liquid Sky, which is the performance I did for that, and then Il était une fois dans l'Est. I really was just part of a project called the Queer Media Database, who's also showing 2 Feeks work actually tomorrow
Yeah.
at the Institut Champlain, Collège Champlain.
Kids, I love it.
Let's get into the work. Tufik, so photography is a big part of your work. Doing like self-portraits. I remember your piece at Tufik's museum. I saw it at Uzinse, and it was like just you recreating sort of masterpieces, but with you and because your background is Moroccan, and also you're playing with gender, so you're sort of really subverting these pieces and creating these like new photographies. But you're completely self-taught, which I thought was really also subverting the idea of the art school. a lot in terms of what you do, and that really inspired me.
Well, thank you.
Yeah,
it was super fun as a process, because To Fix Museum was really a whole series about reinterpreting classical paintings and giving them a new approach, new meaning, and actually making them more accessible.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it comes from the idea that museum and some art galleries feel like they're not accessible to people.
Is that the piece that was called "Porn" by the New York Post?
Yep. It was this exhibition that was called Porn in the National Post. No,
the National Post, the New York Post.
New York Post. So sorry.
I mean, that's kind of amazing.
Oh my god,
that's kind of amazing. It's like a publicist's dream.
The thing, it was actually hilarious because we opened the exhibition, I think 3 days or 4 days before at the Invisible Dog. So the opening went well. It was a bunch of like maybe 500 people. It was fun. It was a great party. Everything was great. Sleep, go back in and out again. And then on this Monday or Tuesday, there's like the New York Post with my Grande Intendante as a main image, saying it's art for porn's sake.
Yeah.
Which is this...
That's a great title.
Completely unforgettable. I mean, I think everyone should own Tu Fix Grande Intendante in their...
It's the one
a
where you're
remake of Manet.
On your side.
C'est la grande... It's a reinterpretation of La Grande Odalisque de Ingres. And it's actually the only piece that is sold out.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah. Thank God I sold this one.
Can't have it.
Too late. People should have moved before.
So there's
edition.
Photography is part of your work, but also performance. You did like this a piece with the FTA a few years ago that was mixing photography and performance, where you did Chasse Galerie, where you were reinterpreting like Québécois folklore on a public square here in Montreal, but also queering that whole story.
Well, by definition, I'm a cis male, and I represent sort of a kind of, how can I say, a whole culture that doesn't seem to be pretty open, if I can say this, to gender bending, queerness.
You mean cis male?
Or feminism.
Cis male is not
cis male from North Africa.
Oh, right. Okay.
Like what I mean is that no one usually people don't expect like a North African cis male to be on high heels with a hijab and a big beard and strutting like a good supermodel, because I have a good runway.
You
can say whatever you want.
Runway.
I have zero doubts about that.
Well,
no one can say
part of
shit
the
about
festival
my
you were
wall.
actually giving like heels workshops.
Yeah, there
you?
was a workshop that I gave that is called BYOH, which is Bring Your Own Heels, and that's a workshop that I do, which actually is not about only walking in high heels, but it's really discussing about the representation of women and how women are pushed and pressured into dressing a certain way and wearing high heels and representing femininity to a certain way that men are not.
That's why Tranna's wearing flats today. I noticed. You're really making a statement.
I know.
She came to work. She came to work.
She's like, I refuse this statement.
Well, anyone you see wearing heels, like just sort of walking from point A to point B. First of all, they're not walking, you know what I mean? Like, I think like also that was one of my biggest misconceptions, is that idea that you wear your heels from when you leave your door to when you get home. You only do that if you have a driver.
I saw a girl in bedazzled. Excuse me, Tufi can defend this, because I saw a girl in bedazzled, studded, purple suede stilettos walking across the Brooklyn Bridge in front of me, walking faster than me the last time I was down there. And this one made us walk everywhere for an amazing video you can see on Vimeo, I hope, still. Two videos. Half it is secret, where Tufi gathered a bunch of the best
people,
walkers of their day and had them walk in public areas. The part really in the Tuileries in Paris is amazing, and then
the one that we did in Montreal, was actually super fierce, and you know that it pissed off a lot of Parisian guys, because they were like, "Oh my God, you upgraded your game in Montreal," so they wanted to do another one, but I was not there, and obviously it was a mess.
Yeah, of course, of course.
It doesn't take much to piss off a Frenchman, though.
Do you consider part of your work drag?
I don't.
You don't? Okay.
I don't consider this drag, because I believe that my approach is not as precise. The idea is not to look like a woman. Obviously, I know I don't look like a woman. The idea is to convey the image of a woman.
Right.
So Plus, in my process, I don't use any padding. I don't use any prosthetics or nothing.
Right.
It's always the same body, always the same face.
Right.
So this for me changes the whole thing. So
the face is changed so dramatically just by the use of a crinoline or a hijab. And when you look, Chasse Galerie, this was actually my role when I went down to Il était une fois dans l'Est for that panel, is that my supervisors, when we showed that film, talked about the Quiet Revolution as if all of these 20-something New Yorkers knew what the Quiet Revolution was.
That's cute.
You know, similarly, Chasse Galerie, which is this iconic etching based on a Quebecois myth of men who have to get into a canoe to go get...
It's 8 lumberjacks that sell their soul to the devil to spend New Year's Eve with their loved ones. And it became 8...
Oh, I thought it was New Year's Eve with one girl.
No.
Played by you.
Oh, it's not a gangbang.
Oh.
No. It became...
I sat through that whole piece.
Sorry about that you misunderstood the thing. No. The original legend is 8 lumberjacks that sell their soul to the devil to spend New Year's Eve with their loved ones.
You had me at 8 lumberjacks.
Exactly, yeah.
Same.
And it became 8 immigrants that sell their soul to the devil to live in Quebec. So it was the whole idea of immigration, sacrifice, etc.
And that piece called Chasse Galerie, I mean, you really get the sense, and you know, having looked at Taufik's work for like over 10 years now, you really get the sense of how many layers of accessibility. That was at peak refugee crisis. This was 2016, tell me that? Yeah. Peak refugee crisis, people dying in the Mediterranean. This is an iconic work of pure laine Quebec, understanding of Quebec culture as this bold, masculine, dominating nature experience. Whiteness too. And then there you are in Place des Festivals, hijabbed up, crinoline for days, high heels, your sister on Photoshop in their costumes.
My brother.
It was a whole production.
Yeah,
that.
Totally. But I love how Festival Transamérique just went for it, and I'm super grateful for this because I just came in and sent them an email, said, "Hey, I have an idea. Can we meet?" 24 hours after, okay, this day, this time. I had a pitch, an hour. They're like, okay, done, got it, let's do this. And they just followed it.
But that wasn't the first time that your oeuvre had taken off. You also did that in Dublin. You've done that in Zagreb.
Yeah, I did the same. Yeah, I did this type of thing where I recreate like very famous nationalist painting. I use the word nationalist because I think it's super interesting in this idea of national pride and how you represent your pride of a nation, or at least of a province. And it's really super interesting because I did this indeed in Croatia, and then I did this in Ireland.
She's only doing Catholic countries.
Do you feel there's a sort of this idea of a queer diaspora wherever you go, that you sort of meet other queer artists, other queer creatives, and that we all belong to that same, regardless of ethnic background, language, that we all belong to the same group, like the African diaspora, the Jewish diaspora, for example?
Well, I think there is this concept of queer diaspora, but now again, there is something in which, in my work and my approach, the idea is really to make actually everything super accessible and to try to break as much as I can the concept of diaspora. So by doing it at Place des Festivals, it was a free show. Everyone can get in and get out whatever they want from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m.
Then she photoshops out the families.
I did. There is no one in the photo, but trust me, I sweated my asses off when I had to like Photoshop the thing because it was too much.
How would you present Jordan as an artist?
He wouldn't.
Yeah, I would be like, who is she? No, Jordan for me is a multidisciplinary artist that plays with words, with image, with performance. Cello also. But what I mean is that he's maybe one of the few artists in Montreal that still fuck my brains up. Because every time I look, I'm like, that. He really did that.
I want to hear how you perceive.
Well, I agree.
Jordan.
Every time I see Jordan perform, I'm blown away. And I mean, just like seriously blown away. But what I think is interesting is that we all watch you and we're like, oh my God, Jordan is like the smartest, most clever person, so talented.
Thank goodness she's here to keep me humble.
A lot of us.
Thank goodness. Oh my
God. But I feel like
I love you.
I've seen glimpses of like your sort of, I mean, a kind of insecurity or like a kind of imposter syndrome Do you have that?
Well, I wanted my last piece about you, monogamy, what is it good for? Absolutely nothing, to really try and push the boundary of imposter syndrome. It's actually called negative capability.
Don't hide under your cynicism.
It's something that they used to admire in a work of theater. If you're able to create a work of theater that doesn't contain biographical information about you and that is not obviously about you. Negative capability is this capacity that people would praise in classical like English theater and Greek tragedy about this removal of self. And so in monogamy, what is it good for? Absolutely nothing. I take an 8-minute monologue by Tranna, was from this YouTube channel called One Take. It was for her birthday at Crystal Palace. And I lip sync this entire 8-minute monologue, which I learned the spoken lip sync. One of the people I admire most is Taufik's surgical lip sync. Look out, Coco Montrese Taufik. And it was about trying to find a way that here you are, one of the funniest women in Montreal. And when asked to speak about monogamy, I related so much. At points of this monologue, you weren't funny anymore.
Right.
I felt like you were talking about, a 9 years single over here, you know what I mean? And so I'm like, the only way to do this is to not look like I'm imitating you. And so I transform into Queen Elizabeth I in the course of this 8.5-minute monologue, accompanied by Handel's Zadok the Priest in the background, the coronation theme.
It was really one of the craziest things that I've ever seen. And it made me so uncomfortable because it was my voice. For this video that I had done like at least 3 years prior.
Like YouTube style?
I was doing this thing
like vlog style.
Yeah, for Queer Comics, the Toronto thing, and just doing these like weekly talks. And
you get a topic and you get 10 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm not like, so I look at YouTubers, people who just like spend their whole lives just sitting in front of a camera alone, just talking to that. And it just, I don't really like it. But I did try it.
But you felt uncomfortable because
I was hearing my voice.
Right.
And I was hearing myself talk in a way that I don't usually get to hear myself talk. And usually I don't mind the sound of my own voice, but
you found also yourself being the subject of an interpretation by someone else.
Exactly.
Especially coming from Jordan, who is able to think outside of the box.
Exactly.
Because believe me, I consider myself being creative and thinking outside of the box. I have nothing on this one.
Imagine how Angre feels looking at you with feather duster.
He has a heart on, trust me. But what I mean is that it's super interesting what you're saying because he takes your own words and twists them in his own ways.
Yeah, but it also the twist was really in the physicality and the visual presentation because the audio was unedited.
Yeah.
It was like straight up the entire thing that I had done, and I don't know, it made me... It was jarring, but I loved it.
Did you feel like he stole your intimacy?
No, not at all. I just felt kind of stupid, honestly.
Not at all. The monologue is so inspiring.
I felt, I don't know, I was just like, oh, I'm not as intelligent as I thought I was.
It was so intelligent.
Honey, you've been taken by Jordan Arsenault. That automatically upgrades everything.
This is about one of the statements was when you are... And I know you weren't offended by it.
Not at all. I loved it. And it was honestly to this day like one of the most honored I've ever felt in my life.
I love
being portrayed as Queen Elizabeth I.
Yeah, as like Jordan as Queen Elizabeth.
Yeah. Because it was, one of your lines is, people seem so unhappy being alone. And then you're like, I don't believe in the word alone. If you are alive and breathing, you are not alone. And to me, that encapsulates what that monologue was about. And I now call it the monogomonologue because it's obviously that's what it's about. Yeah. But what is it good for? Absolutely nothing.
Well, we get so caught up, right?
So caught up.
And
Mark Andrew Hamilton gets so caught up.
Yeah, especially now looking at queer culture in the way that social media has really shifted it, especially talking about masculinity and the way that it's portrayed. And now the way that, because everyone wants attention, people want to feel validated. And it seems like, at least within the gay community, that the only way to receive some of that validation and love is to perform this very hetero version of masculinity,
Well, I think there's both. I feel there's that, certainly, but there's also, what I admire in both of you is the way you sort of juggle the masculine and the feminine in a way that like I've never. I mean, as a kid maybe, but I've repressed that feminine side so much. I know it shows. I know. I'm a basic gay, and I think that's something that's very powerful about. I love you so much. I think it's something that's very powerful about the performance work that you do, and what you do with Peaches Lepage as your alter ego.
Because cis-identifying gay males seem to be scared of femininity now.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
But there is something. But I'm sorry.
No, sorry.
But what I believe is that there is something. Well, in my case personally, the thing is that, funnily enough, the more I've been doing my work, the more comfortable I've been doing with my own masculinity and femininity, because obviously I play with this image.
Yeah.
And one of the things that is kind of hilarious, and I think Jordan have the same problem sometimes, is that when people see it, they're like, "Oh, you're not in high heels. Oh, you're not in drag. Oh, you're not." Yeah, no, I just wear caps and glasses, and it's just this idea of imagining that the characters that you have, or like the way you how can I say, express your art through different characters or representation of self or things like this is your own identity.
This is so interesting because this is amazing. Because it's something that I feel so much, what you're describing, because someone at one point saw you in heels. Yeah. They want to try to process that image and make sense of it, so they have to put some kind of label on it, whether it's drag, whether it's something. Then when they see you out of that, because they've already made this assumption, they've already sort of taken on this assumption about you, and when you don't deliver that, there's this confusion. Why are people so easily confused? Like, why does everyone expect everyone to be just one thing?
Because it's easy. Like, for example, later today, I'm going to go to a launch party, and I'm going to have some high heels. Some super high heels, and I'm going to be fierce as hell, and I'm going to be doing the runway, and I still have this face. Huh?
Are you in Urbania again?
No.
No.
But we all meet at the party on May 31st. Okay. It's free and open to the public.
Yes,
Oops. Please. So anyway, but what I mean is that there's this idea also, and people especially surprised by this thing when they show up in the party dressed like casually with a pair of high heels.
Right.
That changes the way I move, that changes the way I pose, and that actually makes me a bit more graceful than I am usually.
Right.
And it's just fascinating to see how people
But does it get annoying?
Cannot link the head with the feet.
You like that.
Well, it's not that I like it. Is that I think I look super fierce.
You do.
I think guys should wear more high heels.
I agree with you.
Just for the fact that we have a better position and we look better.
Yeah.
Right.
By definition.
It's kind of athletic.
I think high heels should go for everyone. Just for the thing. But then again, I think my easiness and the way I just handle it is very surprising because unless I'm mistaken, high heels are today maybe the only real detail that can literally kill a person's masculinity.
More than a skirt?
I mean,
or a
more
dress?
than a skirt. A skirt doesn't mean anything now.
For sure,
but a pair of high heels, you're not a man anymore.
That's a really interesting. That I would agree with that.
Of course, you found a man who doesn't mind that you wear high heels.
What do you mean I found a man that doesn't mind?
Yeah, there's also...
Oh, wait, you hide them from him. He doesn't know.
No, he's a suitor. He's not my man yet. But he's working on it, and he's doing a great job, mind you. But
but what are you getting? You're
what
getting
I'm,
at
what I'm getting at is
dating.
that nobody,
going back
absolutely nobody, but a few middle-aged lesbians want to have sex with Peaches Lepage, like my drag character.
No, okay, that's the thing.
That's different.
That's not
totally
true.
different.
That is, I have sources.
Wow.
I guarantee you.
You
I
have middle-aged
sources.
lesbian sources, whom I love. I'm sorry, lesbians born in the 70s. You are my people.
Jordan Arsenault, I have sources who tell me that they would definitely
Bang
have sex,
Peaches.
bang Peaches right now, on the
Peaches
table.
in full white powdered, crazy wig.
Thankfully, but journalistic ethics requires that Thomas not reveal these sources.
No, but the question
still an editor.
but I think the question is, would you be interested in
a basic
intimate intercourses as Peaches Lepage? Because this is a good question. I've been asked several times.
Yeah.
to get laid with high heels and a hijab. And I was like, hell no, because this is not me. This is a character.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Art. Okay.
Well, why wouldn't it be hard for him then? Because it's the same.
You know, I will, at this point, I'll do,
anything. Just to get laid.
I'll do anything for $140. I really will. That's what I'm getting today.
Are we ready for your manifesto?
Oh, not yet. But we have to talk about your next thing. What's your next thing? We have to promote something.
Oh, true. Okay, hi.
Yeah, do it.
But technically speaking, it's true, because if we're talking about being single and dating, well, the next project is pretty off the hook, because my next series is about dating apps. It's about the representation of self in dating apps. So today I have 15 characters, and by this new series I'm gonna have 100.
Wow. This is so exciting.
It's 20 straight men, 20 straight women, 20 gay men, 20 gay women, and 20 non-binary pansexual people.
Amazing. For something I forgot to say, your work obviously reminds us of Cindy Sherman, but
who is she?
but really of the Beyonce pregnancy posts. When she posts like these like beautiful, full on like when she's pregnant, like when I see your work, I think of Beyonce.
Oh wow! Well, listen, I'll take
that. Those pictures.
I mean, there's an aesthetic connection.
Yeah, sort of spiritual.
I think like if you look at your Instagram page, do a quick scroll, then do a quick Beyonce scroll. There's like,
there's a vibe.
Well, I was called the First Lady of Montreal by Miss Thang here, so now if I can be the Beyonce of Montreal.
Yes.
I mean, it must be hard to have to Photoshop that baby bump out every time. Every single time.
And Jordan, what do you have coming up?
What do I have coming up? On April 29th, I'll be involved in a procession called Unscrew the Locks with Jamie Ross as part of Galerie Verticale's intervention in Saint-Vincent-de-Paul, a village near Laval, which is where two pagan prisoners that Jamie administers to as a visiting witch. And so we will be, I know I don't look like a fairy, but sometimes I do. And so we'll be doing a procession from the church to the vicinity of the prison in conjunction with May Day, which is Beltane, which is about liberation and transformation. And we're going to be making chants. And I'm going to be getting my hippie side on so hard.
It's April 29th?
April 29th in Saint-Vincent-de-Paul at 1 p.m. And then after that, I'm going to talk about a benefit that I'm planning in May for my friend Atif Siddiqui. And that's what my piece is going to be about, too. You can check out Atif's GoFundMe. It's called Poetic Justice for Atif Siddiqui, Siddiqui.
Iconic Montreal performer.
Montreal performer, Tranny-tronic. And so that's what my piece is dedicated to.
Cool.
Are we ready for this?
Okay, let's do this.
Yeah, you have headphones to put on.
Do you want us to have like a position or something to make it more dramatic?
Should we look away?
We basically commissioned something. The voice. Yeah. Are you okay?
Jordan has never put on headphones before.
And there's music. Let's start the music.
Let's start
the music.
And
we're here for you.
I get frightened in all this darkness. I get nightmares. I hate to sleep alone. I need some company. A guardian angel to keep me warm when the cold winds blow. I can feel you breathe. I can feel your heart beat faster. This is a prayer I say to myself every time I, as a single homosexual, consider the trapdoor of online dating. I keep my smartphone in a locked cabinet at all times so that I can be reminded to go and get the keys also in a locked cabinet before I open this trapdoor and turn on the pain. I can feel you breathing. I can feel your heartbeat faster. This piece goes out to anyone who has ever taken you home tonight. Because it's a dark and scary place out there. Imagine this being a table. Around this table, a beautiful dinner party north of the tracks, and I've decided that as a parlor game, we're going to describe our worst internet dates. Someone tells a heart-rending story, similar to the Sex and the City episode in which Miranda discovers that sometimes people don't text you back because they died. That happened. Bye, Jose. Or my friend Cesar, who was having an experience with someone under the influence of certain substances, realized that it was just too big, that he just couldn't go there. Few of us around this table relate to this problem. And he says to this overly well-endowed man, "That is too big. I cannot go on. Get out of my house." The well-endowed man says, "You're in my apartment. I'm afraid you will have to leave." Thinking about the blood-splattered walls, lonely walks home, all of the different kinds of bleeping sounds and broop and geep and cheep that you have to listen to that we're trained like Pavlovian bitches to get excited about. I'd invite you to listen to the work of tranny-tronic Atif Siddiqui, who, and this is a serious moment, went online, as many of us do, often to the horror of middle-aged lesbians. I can't believe you go online and invite a complete stranger into your house to have intercourse with you. You don't even know if you like the same TV shows or cat hair lengths. We do this. Atif recently, you can see this both on their GoFundMe and on the CBC article, invited someone over who then hurt them and robbed them. And when they went to report this to the police misgendered them and laughed at them. So when you go and look up on the GoFundMe for Poetic Justice for Atif Siddiqui, or when you come to the benefit party that I hope that we will host in late May, maybe May 25th, maybe consider saying this prayer. I get frightened in all this darkness. I get nightmares. I hate to sleep alone. I need some company, a guardian angel, to keep me warm when the cold winds blow. I can feel you breathing. I can feel your heartbeat faster. Take me home tonight. I don't want to go back home till the morning light. Take me home tonight.
Though I'm tiny, 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 I got mighty, mighty power. My love is shiny, shiny, shiny.
Thank you, Jordan. And thank you,
so much.
Tufik.
And thank you, Tufik.
It's been so
That
great
was
to
so
have
dramatic.
you
I
here.
love it.
I know, of course. And I'm so glad that at least two people will have heard Jordan Arsenault for the first time. And I couldn't be more thrilled. Thank you both so much for being here. We love you.
for having us.
Thank you
Thank
love
you
you.
so much.
Yeah,
Thank you.
We'll see you in a bit.
See you later.